Welcome back to episode 124 of the ATD Baseball Podcast. I'm back home, back in my little dungeon area. As you can see, I am not decked out in Dodger stuff today. I am decked out Lakers headband, Kings hoodie. Playoffs begin. Lakers already got off to a bad start, but again, it's only game one. We're not doing a basketball podcast. Let me stop before I completely ramble and give you a full breakdown of game one between Lakers Timberwolves. But today we got some things that we want to discuss. We have uh, Francisco Lindor being named captain for Team Puerto Rico, right? Puerto Rico, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Just making sure. Uh, And then we got some brave stuff. Spencer Strider, this just broke within the last 20 minutes. He's going back on the IL, which that sucks. Then Ronald Acuna had some comments too that he made over the weekend over social media. We'll touch on that a little bit. And then Nick Kurtz getting called up by the A's. So that's cool. But before we get into all of that, Kyle, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good, man. Out here on the East Coast, the allergies are absolutely wild right now. Pollen's everywhere. It's crazy. I live in a wind tunnel, so of course it makes it 10 times worse. This pollen's literally everywhere. It's got my eyes puffy. It's got me all messed up. But other than that, I'm doing good, man. My Yankees are on kind of a little bit of a heater right now, except for Devin Williams, which I'll get into a little bit later. I got some good words for him. Um,
Trent
but yeah,
Grisham is Juan Soto now again all of a sudden.
I know. And unfortunately, he went on the paternity list today. So congrats on
Right.
this, Trent Grisham. Um,
Horny bastard.
but yeah, other than that, that's about all I got for you. My Miami Heat are, I believe they were in the play-in last time I looked. I think they lost though. Um, and then,
They
and then
won,
yeah,
but
yeah. Well, there you go. See, it
they
shows how
lost
much I'm
yesterday.
into it.
They lost game one to Cleveland yesterday. But
See, there you go. Shows how much I'm into it. And then, of course, my Chicago Blackhawks are bottom feeders of the National Hockey League for quite some time now. So I'm still full on Yankees here. Yeah, I'm that man. I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Uh, you know, I mean, wasn't fun watching the Lakers getting pounded by Minnesota 48 hours ago, but that's okay. It's only game one. Uh, doing extremely well. Got recognized. I mentioned that to you, but I got recognized at the bar that I was at Saturday night, so that was cool. Makes me feel good, and told me things that was compliments for everybody, not just for me. As full of myself as I am, those comments were not for me. Like they were for everybody, you and Mikey. So that was very nice to hear those kind words from uh, that fine gentleman that I saw at the bar Saturday. So, but yeah, doing well. I'm busy this week. I'm on a heater. I'm going to Kings game one tonight. I'm going to Kings game one tonight. We get another one of these, another one of Rally Tile. I'm going to Lakers game two tomorrow. And then I got Kings game two Wednesday. So I'm going to be at Crypto or Staples the next 3 nights. And, my heart's going to be in my chest or my heart's going to be in my throat, for the next 72 hours because, you know, it's playoff time and I become miserable. I become miserable,
Oh,
So
absolutely.
but again, we're not a hockey or basketball podcast, so I'll get off of that. But I'm doing well. Dodgers took 2 out of 3 from Texas. They won both games by only scoring 2 runs, and they were a meltdown from Kirby Yates in the ninth inning away from sweeping the series. But hey, they took 2 out of 3, and you guys know how I feel about the Texas Rangers. I think that's your World Series preview right there. So I know it's crazy to say that in April, but you might see those two teams again in the Fall Classic in about 7 months from now. But we'll see. Uh, yeah, doing well. So we'll not waste any more time of me rambling on here. So we'll get into it. Francisco Lindor named captain for Team Puerto Rico in next year's WBC. Um, can't think of really anybody else off the top of my head. I have to look at the roster from last year, but this is the perfect decision. I think. We've seen for the last couple years now, particularly last year, we've seen Francisco Lindor become like the leader slash captain of the New York Mets. You know, he had that unbelievable MVP type season last year. It seems like the older that he's gotten, and the more he's played with the Mets, he's taken on that leadership role. He's taken on that leadership role, and this is kind of a perfect storm with him being named captain of Puerto Rico next year, and I think it's great. Like I said, and it also confirms that, hey, one of the best shortstops in the game will be participating in next year's WBC. Knock on wood. Hopefully, he can stay healthy and he could be on the field next year in Miami. But this is a fantastic move. I think pretty easy decision. And again, I want to see these countries start naming their captains because that means, hey, maybe it'll inspire some of these other guys to want to play. Like, oh shit, Lindor's the captain. I want in. You know, that's what I hope it rubs off with Judge. It's like, okay, Judge is in. I want to play too. So hopefully we start seeing that. But little by little, 2026 WBC rosters are starting to take shape. I mean, I'm getting excited, and I know it's only April and we're still like 300 days away from the tournament even beginning. But I'm excited. I got excited when I saw Lindor named captain for Puerto Rico. So that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, no, I mean, absolutely. I mean, this was definitely the clear choice, and as much as I hate to admit it, he has become um, kind of a staple in New York sports. Really,
Really, yeah.
he has turned like that Mets franchise into that like leadership role that he provides. And when he was out there in Cleveland, I loved watching him from afar. And then of course when he came over to Queens, I was kind of happy about it. The Mets finally get their leader after David Wright. Um, and Lindor's really blossomed into that role. I absolutely love him. I think he's a phenomenal player, and I don't think there's a better player to be named captain of Team Puerto Rico for next year's WBC. And of course, like as any news for the World Baseball Classic comes out, it's getting me excited. It's getting me pumped up, man. I kind of mentioned it on last week's podcast with Judge getting announced. The WBC kind of holds that place in our hearts with here at Around the Diamond. That's where we all first met and kind of like kickstart this whole thing.
Exactly.
It was such a cool event. It was one of those times where you and I could take off our Dodger and Yankee caps and just and root for the same team. So um, it's very cool, and it gets me giddy. So and kind of like your point with Judge, I hope that these bigger named captains come out and it gets these guys pumped up and ready to play for their country. And Lindor can provide that, just like Judge can for Team USA. That's exactly what Lindor is going to do for Team Puerto Rico. Last year we saw the likes of like Carlos Correa, I believe Marcus Stroman pitched for them. J- yeah, just guys like that, and it's going to be
Javi Baez, which
yeah, Javi.
do we really? We're gonna do that again.
I I could still see him playing, and I mean Javi Baez, he is what he is now, but he's one of those guys that I could see, you know, this might be a hot take to some people, but Javi Baez I could see turning up a little bit for the WBC. He's one
Yeah,
of those guys that he plays with emotion. He's playing for his home country. Maybe that switches a switch in him a little bit. He gets to that next level that he can't get to with Detroit for some odd reason. But yeah, no, very excited. Lindor's the right guy for the job. He really is.
absolutely. Um, just kind of scanning through the roster from 4 years ago. I mean, he's clearly the obvious choice. I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
Kike
to me, by far.
Hernandez, Lindor, Baez, Martin Maldonado, you
Hmm.
know, Alexis Diaz. Like Lindor was the clear obvious choice and the correct choice.
Yeah,
So
if there was anybody, I felt that Correa would probably be a close
yeah,
number two. But I mean, to me, it's not that close. I mean, Lindor is obviously the clear choice here, and I think they made the right choice.
yeah. I wonder if they're beginning to start, if they're gonna be, if they're in the process of recruiting. Like obviously we're not gonna hear about it, but I wonder if these guys have already started kind of behind the scenes. Like, hey, why don't you play for Team USA or Team Mexico or the Dominican next year? Well, the Dominican pretty much has their team set because everybody's playing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everybody with some sort of Dominican background is playing next year, especially after how you know abysmal they were at last year's tournament.
Yeah.
I think they all. That's the one, and we're not. This is not the day to completely break down what's going to happen
Yeah.
next year. But I would be terrified to play the Dominican
Absolutely.
because they didn't even make it out of the group stage last year.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
lost to Puerto Rico, I think, in that last game, and they got that last spot.
I believe it was. And I mean, just looking at that roster, you got names like Soto and J Rod, it's like these teams.
Machado, I guess we'll throw him a bone too.
Yeah. These teams are stacked, man, and it's hard not to get excited for it. And it's hard not to start previewing these things because it is such a, you can forget about standings and records for a minute with your own favorite team that you grew up watching, and you can cheer for your home country. It's such a cool thing that I wish happened more than every 4 years. Truly, I
Right.
do.
For yeah, and baseball, I mean, not everybody's into the Olympics,
Yeah.
So this is our baseball Olympics, and even when baseball has the Olympics, they're not sending their guys over there, you
No.
know, which I don't blame them because they have obligations for their major league teams. So,
Exactly.
but
So that WBC to us it really is our Olympics. That
right,
is the thing that we look forward to every 4 years, and when we see, oh, the WBC's coming up next year, like it's hard not to get excited. It's hard not to start seeing which guys are going to play where and just get ready for it. It's kind of a break from your major league baseball, but you still get all the players that you love, and it's kind of that dream scenario too. You get to see what it's like to have Aaron Judge and Mookie Betts on the same team, or you know Mike Trout playing with all these different guys, finally getting some help, that type of thing. So, yeah, no, it's always cool, and it kind of reminds me of like MLB The Show franchises, where you go a little
right.
nuts, you turn off the salary cap, and you just experiment, So it's
And
always
you can
cool.
do
And
that at MLB The Show. You can create your own Team USA team, or
yeah, oh yeah,
Puerto
trust me,
Rican team, or yeah, or Dominican. Yeah, you can have fun with it. But this is real
absolutely.
life now.
Yeah. So it's cool that it's not just a video game for you anymore. You get to see the likes of these guys playing on the same team, and it's an absolute powerhouse. It's really cool.
Quick side note, and then we'll move on here because we've already touched on this a lot, but way too much. But how quickly do you think Team USA will turn on Judge? Team USA fans will turn on Judge if he struggles like he does in the postseason.
Um,
How quickly do you think they'll turn on him? Because
I
right now everybody loves it,
yeah.
but if he goes 0 for 4 in that first game with
Hmm.
3 strikeouts again in the WBC in Houston, I wonder how quickly the Team USA fans are going to turn on him.
It's a good question. I mean, if it's gonna be anybody, I see it being a lot of Yankee fans turning on him. But
He
you
should
know,
have never gone anyways. He should have never gone anyway.
either that or you're playing in Houston, man. There's going to be a lot of Homer Astro fans out there. So, yeah, no, I don't know. It's a good question. I guess we'll wait and see. But I hope they don't. Just for the sake of it. At the end of the day, it is a fun tournament. It's
Right.
but I do think that from what I've heard from Judge, I think he's taken this like the postseason.
As he
So
should. I will hope
hopefully,
all these guys do.
absolutely,
I don't want to
hopefully.
see a scrimmage game in Houston.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully he doesn't play like he plays in the postseason. But who knows? Maybe it'll kickstart his postseason career with the Yankees just a little bit better, or depending on what happens this year. I don't know, but yeah, no. Hopefully they don't turn on too quick. But I could see a world where both outcomes happen.
All right. Let's touch on the Braves now.
Hmm.
Spencer Strider is going back on the IL. This was news that came out about maybe, like I said, about a half hour ago. Um, According to the report, he was playing catch, and I guess he said he came in afterward after he was done playing catch, and he said he wasn't going to be able to pitch tomorrow. So that kind of sucks. But man, like he just came back from this season long injury last year, and he actually looked pretty good in the first. He looked okay, but
Yeah,
I don't have it in front of me. But you can see, like, all right, like he can make, he's gonna be okay. and then this happens. Just how unfortunate this is for the Braves and just for Spencer Strider. Because I mean, Jesus, at some point it has to be mental. It's like, damn, am I ever going to be healthy again? Because we saw what Spencer Strider can do for a full healthy season, minus the division series against the Phillies. That's a whole nother story. But we've seen how dominant he can be in the regular season, and now he's having this another setback. And who knows? And they weren't giving a timetable. I'm sure they're running tests and trying to figure everything out right now. But I just hope it's not long term. And man, like in a division, like the the NL East, the Mets are off to a good start. You know, the Phillies are off to a good start. Um, the Braves are, off to a slow start right now. They've
Hmm.
won three in a row, but they're still below 500. And now, you've lost another pitcher in Spencer Strider. Just keeps happening to the Braves. Seems like it's happening to them more than some of these other teams, and it sucks. I hope Spencer Strider turns out to be all right.
Yeah, I mean, you hit it right on the head, man. This sucks. It absolutely does. Spencer Strider made his return on April 16th. He ended up pitching 5 innings, allowing 2 runs and striking out five. So, and he actually, notably, he reached his 500th career strikeout during that game. We saw what Spencer Strider can do, and his return. If you're going 5 innings in a return after being out for a year and striking out five, and only allowing two, I feel that's a pretty damn good positive outing after what you've just been through and what you've recovered from. And Spencer Strider, he's a guy, he's a strikeout pitcher. This guy racks up a shit ton of strikeouts, and he's that powerhouse pitcher. He pitches with that mentality, like, here's my best stuff. You either hit it or you sit your ass down. And one of my biggest reasons of picking the Braves to be in the World Series this year was the fact that I expected them to be fully healthy. And
Right.
yeah, and they got most of their guys back, but at the same time, they're coming out of the gate slow. We saw that opening series and opening week kind of after they got absolutely shitted on by the Dodgers. It sucks to see for Strider, but it also sucks to see for the Braves. This is a team that's been battling injury constantly for the last. This is going on the second year now, and they play in a gauntlet of a division, a gauntlet of a league. It sucks, man. It really does. And Spencer Strider is one of those guys that you can get behind. I always love watching Spencer Strider pitch. He reminds me a lot like Garrett Cole. He's that guy who he has that dog mentality when he's out there on the mound, and he absolutely just blows it right
Power
past you.
pitcher.
He absolutely is. And, it sucks to see. And I hope that this is just like a small tweak and he's back within no time. Because for the Braves' sake and for Spencer Strider, all of baseball, honestly, baseball's better when these guys are on the mound pitching. You know, and Spencer Strider is one of those guys. So this sucks to see, and I hope him the best, and I hope he comes back quick. Speedy recovery, and I hope he comes back healthy.
Yeah, 2 years ago we were looking at this guy maybe being the best pitcher in the sport,
Absolutely.
or at
Yeah.
least in the National League, and
Mhm.
now he had this devastating injury last year, and now he's going back on the IL this year.
Yeah.
It's crazy how these things can just turn on a dime real quick.
Yep.
You know, you're on top, you're the ace of the team, and then all of a sudden, you can't even stay on the field, which is
Hmm.
crazy. So
It's so
yeah,
quick too, man. It's baseball. That's what it comes down
right.
to. It's you have no idea what's going to happen, and anything can come out of nowhere. And once it does, it's wild to sit back and think about. That's why I encourage everybody who watches the game. If you have a favorite player, enjoy the hell out of him. Watch him as much as you can, and really take in and appreciate what they do. Because at a drop of a dime, man, it can all be taken away just like that. And same with Spencer Strider here.
Staying with the Atlanta Braves, um, Ronald Acuna Jr. had some interesting comments over the weekend. He called out his manager Brian Snicker for apparently double standard. I'm
Hmm.
using that in quotation marks because again, I don't know.
Yeah.
He called out Brian Snicker for defending Jared Kelnick for a base running mishap. Basically saying that, hey, if it was me that would have done that, I would have been benched. How come he doesn't get benched? Well, basically calling out the double standard. Um, Again, if you're a Braves fan, this is the last thing you want to hear right now.
Yeah.
Your star pitcher's gone again. You're off to a bad start, and then all of a sudden, your star player and your manager are now having problems. That's not good. I mean, I'm not naive. I'm sure managers have their favorites. I'm sure they all do. You know, that, hey, I can give a longer leash to this guy because I know that, even when he makes a mistake, he's gonna fix it and he won't do it again. But I mean, honestly, I can see where Acuna is coming from, to be honest with you.
Hmm.
I can see it, Like,
Yeah.
hey, if I did that, I'd be sitting on the bench next to you and not play for the rest of the game. Yeah,
We've
why
seen it.
does he get a pass? Yeah, we've seen it before. Yeah,
Yep.
I remember Puig with the Dodgers.
Hmm.
That was a problem. Dave Roberts had to kind of put him all, had to bring him out of games sometimes. It's like, hey, we don't do that here, you know,
Hmm.
or, relax on the base pads a little bit. But yeah, we've seen it before. It just sucks that, again, just when you think things can't get any worse for this Braves team, you have this quote unquote controversy come out over the weekend. You know,
Hmm.
you have the whole clubhouse walking on eggshells right now
Yeah.
because you have Kelnick, Snicker, and Acuna all kind of, little friction going on. And,
Yeah.
if you're a Braves fan, you just hope this doesn't trickle into the other guys too.
Yeah.
Even though this is a locker room issue, and I think, you know, I think the big problem here, the only thing that I don't like about this, why are you telling it to everybody?
Hmm.
Like, if you want to have that conversation with your manager, fine, have it in his office
Yeah.
before the game.
Hmm.
Don't tell everybody on Twitter. You know, that's gonna take it and run with it. Now, maybe that's what he wanted. If he did, mission accomplished. But to me, if you want to get the message across, you gotta. I don't know. I think that's a conversation to have behind closed doors. To me, that's not something you should be telling everybody. That's just me.
No, I definitely agree with you. I see exactly where Ronald Acuna is coming from because if you remember correctly, back in 2019, Acuna hit a what he thought I'm assuming he thought was a homer, and he took a while to get out of the batter's box, and then when he was rounding first, he kind of turned on the jets and got thrown out at second. Well, guess what? Brian Snicker took him out of the game. And now, fast forwarding a couple years later, Jared Klenick does the exact same thing, and it's kind of brushed off. It's looked upon like, oh, was I supposed to? Exact words by Brian Snicker. So I get where Acuna's coming from. I do, and it's the way I look at it is I have a few points on this. Number one, if you're going to pimp a ball like that, make sure it's out. I don't care who you are. I don't care what position you play. I don't care if you're an everyday player or role player. If you want to pimp a ball, totally fine. I'm all for it. But make sure that damn ball is out before you start making mistakes. And then if you do get benched, you can't complain about it. But at the same time, on the managerial side of things, if you're going to bench one player for doing the exact same thing, you bet your ass you better do it for another player who does it. Just in this situation, if Acuna gets benched in 2019 for doing it, Kalenic should get benched in today's year, 2025. It shouldn't be any different across the board. You need to manage the exact same way. That's how you keep your clubhouse behind you, and that's how you keep your guys and the clubhouse happy, and how you remain on their side. Um, but yeah, no, I kind of my final point on this was kind of yours as well. This is probably something that should be taken behind closed doors, not something that's publicly announced, especially when the Braves aren't doing that well right now. They're off to a slow start, and you're getting problems left and right. We just talked about how Spencer Strider went to the IL. That's your star pitcher, man. And on top of it, your team's not doing good. So in my opinion, keep it behind closed doors and kind of you know, just bite your tongue with it, man. And it was the same thing with Jazz the other day. Fucking, you
Right.
know, Jazz got ejected from a game and immediately took to Twitter, which I thought was hilarious. But at the same time, that probably doesn't rub well with a lot of these old fashioned managers. I know Aaron Boone didn't take too kindly to him taking to Twitter right after. Um, this is a situation we see in baseball all the time. Josh Donaldson was known for it when he came over to the Bronx, pimping things that were, pimping singles, pimping doubles, and getting thrown out at first, getting thrown out at second. Aaron Hicks a few years ago did the same damn thing, and
Josh
Aaron,
Donaldson's another one too.
absolutely,
Was another one at the end there.
yeah, and I'm speaking from Yankee fandom here. Aaron Boone didn't take too kindly to that, and he ended up benching him. That's kind of the way it is. If you want to pimp homers, that's fine, but you got to remember you might have these old fashioned managers in there who are like completely against pimping balls and showboating a little bit. But in my opinion, I didn't see anything wrong with it. But make sure that make sure it's out, man. Because if it's up for grabs, then after that, depending on how your manager wants to handle it.
And all these players have egos,
Yes,
and they remember everything.
they do.
This
Look
was
at
an
Cunha.
incident that happened in 2019. This was 6 years ago,
Yep.
and Acuna, I clearly never forgot it, and
Oh,
was
I bet
probably waiting for somebody to slip up and do the same.
his thumbs were going, man.
Absolutely, he's probably remembered that day. He probably remembers that whole altercation of
Yeah,
when he came back to the dugout and Snicker told him, "Hey, you're done for the night."
absolutely.
Yeah,
Yep.
Acuna was a rookie that year too.
Yes, he was.
He
Yeah.
was a rookie that year, so I can see why. Hey, like
Hmm.
I'm saving you from you.
Yeah.
I'm trying to protect you and treat you and do teach you to do the right things so you don't do them later. But seems
Hmm.
like it ended up going back in his face a little bit. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, yeah, you can't have double standard, man. Especially these days, man. Like these guys have egos, and they don't forget anything, you
Nope.
know. And clearly, Acuna didn't forget about it. So
if
could
just to,
also be frustrated too. Like you
oh,
mentioned, the
absolutely.
Braves are off to a bad start too.
Yeah, probably
So
frustrated, and things like that. But just to like, final summing up my thoughts here, I would probably say I'm definitely on Acuna's side with this, man. If you can't, it's like the pot calling the kettle black. If you're gonna do it to if you're gonna do it to Acuna a few years back, you gotta stick with the way you manage, man. And I get where he's coming from.
that's like in a relationship where you and your girlfriend are having issues, and your girlfriend takes it to social media. I'm like, well, why? What the hell? Why don't you tell me about it? Why are you telling everybody else about it?
Yeah,
You know, why do you have to tell everybody our problems? Like,
let, let's settle
take
this.
it down and let's talk about it. Why you got to tell everybody about it?
Absolutely.
You know,
No, that's a great comparison because it makes so much sense, and it gives the average MLB fan a way to look at it. It really does. So props
yes,
for coming up with that. Seriously.
yeah, it does, and I've seen a couple people pull out the card. We all know what it is. I'm not
Yeah.
going to say we all know what it is,
Yeah.
but I don't think it's that. I don't think it's that at all. You
No.
know, doesn't seem like that. But yeah. So hopefully the Braves can figure it out,
Yep.
because if not, they're in huge trouble.
Absolutely.
They're in huge trouble. But never thought I'd say that. The Mets are getting off to a good start in the American League East. What the hell's going on here?
Crazy stuff,
They're
man.
winning games in April. And Lindor's playing like, and Soto's playing like shit
Yeah.
for right
They
now.
crazy, man.
Yeah. All right. Not lastly, but last little thing we have here before we touch on our teams. Nick Kurtz, congratulations, my friend, getting called up to the show. Uh, the number 4 pick in last year's draft, which is crazy how much he's made through,
Yeah.
and one of the top prospects in baseball,
Hmm.
getting called up. Um, this guy swept through the minors. Only played 32. He only played 32 minor league games, which is insane. Slashed through it. He slashed through the fall league. Went 14 of 38 with 4 home runs with a dozen in a dozen games for the A's, single A and double A after the draft. Hit 353 in the fall league, and then this year, uh, dominated Triple A, pitching with over 1,000 OPS with 7 home runs in 20 games, and now he's getting called up to the show. Congratulations, MLB The Show legend. He has a he has an 84 gold that I think for the first 2 weeks of the MLB The Show game coming out, everybody had him in their lineup as a first baseman
Hmm.
because there was no other cards out there. So, happy for him. And what's going on with the A's here? They're
Yeah.
doing things right again. What the hell? They're paying guys and they're developing guys in the minors.
Hmm.
So good for Hertz, and hopefully he can make an impact because um, the A's are in last place. But again, I don't think we didn't expect much from them this year. But you want to see a team like the A's start going in the right direction. You know, start having these guys come up and making impacts. Pay the guys that should be paid. You know, so
Yeah.
and Nick Hertz is right in the line of it, and good for him. Happy for him. Good for the A's. Good for the A's. Even though that owner doesn't deserve anything good to happen to them, but
No.
good for the A's. Their fans do though, and this is
Yeah.
good for them.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. Um, I'm gonna start off by saying, like, I mean, everybody knows my thoughts on the whole Oakland, Sacramento, Las Vegas debacle, everything like that. Where the hell was this in Oakland? Come on,
Yep.
seriously. That's what the fans pleaded for, time and time again, man. Ever since you blew it up, you sold off Chapman, you sold off Olson, Montas when he was there. Um, you had a God, Sean Murphy. There we go. That's where I was going. You had all these star players, and you could have just continued to build around them. And now you're doing everything that your fan base asked for when you're playing in a minor league ballpark that's ranked 30 out of 30 in all of baseball. Come on, man. But nevertheless,
Hitter's
it's time.
paradise though,
It really is, and it
for a
probably
lot of
helped.
teams that have got in there.
Yeah, absolutely. But this is the type of stuff we asked for beforehand. But nevertheless, it's we're looking towards the future now. So the future's here, man. This athletics team, I'm in love with it. I really am. You locked up Brent Rooker. You locked up Lawrence Butler. You got Kurtz coming up for the minors. He's your top prospect. He's a top prospect in baseball, not only your organization. And he's been tearing up the minor leagues, man. He's been on a tear. So it makes total sense of why you're calling him up. And on top of it, all the names that I just mentioned isn't even including the guy who's leading all the major leagues in home runs, which is Tyler Soderstrom. This guy, he kind of came out of nowhere, and maybe the ballpark plays a little bit into that. But this kid's on a tear. And I absolutely love what the A's are building there. I really am. And Kurtz is just another addition that if he ends up, you know, working out the way they think that he will, this A's team's got a really good future, and I can only imagine, you know, where else these prospects are going to come from. They've been stockpiling, man. It's no secret that the A's have been the laughing stock of baseball, so they've been able to stockpile a lot of these picks, and at this point, I can't wait to see them go out and make a big splash. I want to see a star in, I almost said Oakland, in the athletics organization again. I really do. I want to see it build around this young core with these star players, and it's going to be cool to see athletics baseball good again. It really is. And it's a good story. It really is. I'm happy for Kurtz, and I'm happy for this organization, especially the fan base, because they deserve it. They really do. So props to the A's for actually doing things right for once. So calling up Kurtz, I think he's gonna be all right, man. I really do, from what I've seen.
Yeah, you got to strike when it's hot too.
Yeah,
You know, when these guys are hitting, when prospects, when a guy in the minors is hitting well like this, you got to waste no time and call him up, because
absolutely.
then you wait too long, and then he struggles again, and then it's like, oh shit,
Yeah,
now you know, yeah, yeah, you You would know that a lot better than I would. So,
Absolutely.
speaking of Yankees, let's get into our weekly updates with our teams. You mentioned the Yankees, Kyle. You can lead it off here.
Yeah, so I kind of mentioned when we first got in here, the Yankees are on a little bit of a heater right now. I'm kind of excited about that. They're looking good. They just took 3 out of 4 down in Tampa at our second home down there at GMS.
Four
Um,
extra home games for the Yankees. Wow.
Absolutely love it, man. Except that should have been a clean sweep. It should have been. Public enemy number one of the Yankees fan base is Devin Williams right now. Um, I'm not worried. I'm not right now. And I'm trying to give him the benefit of the doubt. I really am. This guy, we know what he's capable of. We do. And I know we talked about it before when I'm doing these Yankees updates and stuff like that. Um, this guy came over from Milwaukee. He's a reliever of the year. He's pitched 6 years, and I believe he has a sub 3 ERA. This guy's just we know what he's capable of. Everybody wanted to trade for him, and when I saw that the Yankees were the ones who pulled the trigger, I was stoked, man. I couldn't wait. However, I do think there's a little bit of growing pains, and I hope I'm wrong on this. I really hope there's nothing underlying. I really do. I hope that his mechanics are just a little wonky right now and he needs to fine tune some things. But I really hope there's nothing wrong, shoulder, elbow, arm wise, um, because that would be detrimental, would not be good. But the Yankees bullpen's doing pretty good right now. The one guy who we thought could solidify this entire damn thing is the one who's struggling. Luke Weaver has been absolutely fantastic. Tim Hill's been doing his thing. Mark Leiter Jr., he's been a little iffy, but he's been getting it done. Ian Hamilton, he's been doing pretty good out of the pen too. You know, Jonathan Loizaga, he's starting yeah, haven't heard that name in a while. He's starting a rehab assignment, I
Yeah.
believe, in Single A Tampa. DJ LeMayu, he's starting his rehab assignment, unfortunately. But yeah, but no, Devin Williams, I'm really hoping I'm going to give it another week. I am. And I hope I see another appearance from him. I'm sure Boone's going to use him in this Cleveland series starting tonight. Um, so hopefully this train starts getting on the right track again because he has just been very very untrustworthy coming out of that pen. It's not good, man. It's not. And I have more faith in Luke Weaver right now, just like I did last year, you know. So I don't know. Maybe Booney switches some things up, setup man, closer wise. I don't know, but it's not looking good for Devin Williams right now. I hope he figures it out and we kind of just get back on track. Other than that, man, it's kind of smooth sailing, Judgy's been hitting. Wells has been hitting. Volpe's been on a little bit of a cold streak, but I hope he comes through. Um, the bottom of the Yankees lineup, guys like Trent Grisham, Ben Rice has been absolutely ridiculous. Um, yeah, Oswaldo Cabrera, he's been doing his thing. Trent Grisham, again, I said he went on the paternity list, so hopefully he's back soon. He's been hitting the freaking cover off the ball. Um, yeah, no, it's lineup's been doing okay. Belly homered on his third straight 420. Good.
420.
I'm sure he's partaken a little bit. But no, overall, I mean, it's just that Devin Williams little hiccup there. So hopefully he kind of rights the ship and gets the win back in his sails. But other than that, kind of smooth sailing right now.
This is if you love watching closers blow games. If you want to see, you know, this is the series for you. If you want to see chaos in the ninth inning, Emmanuel Clase and Devin Williams,
Yeah,
infamous both of them for falling apart in the later innings of the baseball game.
yeah,
So if you want to see some chaos in the ninth inning, don't leave. Don't turn it off. When the Yankees or the Guardians are up by one, and
yep.
Emmanuel Clase or Devin Williams are rolling out there to try and get the last 3 outs, don't leave. You might miss something incredible.
Absolutely. I wouldn't be shocked, man. The Yankees are starting a 3 game set. It's the bottom of the second right now in game one. So tune in 7 innings and maybe you'll see something fun, Hopefully not,
Right.
but
And the thing that concerns me a little bit is that Devin Williams was brought to the Yankees to be the closer. He
Hmm.
was not brought in to be the setup man. He was not brought in to be the seventh, one of the top relievers that comes out of the bullpen in the seventh inning. Like he was brought there. Hey, we need you to get the last three outs of the ball game. Figure it out.
Yep.
That's why it's like that's the thing that concerns me. It's like I don't think Aaron Boone and the Yankees. Now you know this better than I do, but I don't see a world where Aaron Boone is like, okay, well you're not the closer anymore.
Hmm.
I know he did that last year with Clay Holmes, but
Hmm.
again, the Yankees didn't have, as far as I know,
Yeah.
didn't have that set in stone closer. I know it was supposed to be Clay Holmes, but with
No.
Devin Williams, like he's a closer. That's the
Yeah.
thing that concerns me. If he
Hmm.
doesn't figure this out, it's like the Yankees are gonna have to die on this hill
Yeah.
because I don't think Boone is gonna put him out there in the eighth inning and put Weaver back in for the ninth. That I just don't see that happening.
So, it's definitely a good point, and it is worrisome too because if you start messing with Devin Williams, he has never been that setup guy. He's
Right.
never been the seventh inning guy. He's always been Milwaukee's closer, and he's never wavered from that. And they kind of died on that hill with last year's postseason series when Pete Alonso hit that homer. I think that's what the Yankees are going to do because it's what they did with Clay Holmes. But I wouldn't be shocked if I see Booney go to Williams in one of these upcoming games in the eighth inning, where Weaver gets the ninth. I don't think it gets any earlier than that. I think it might be an inning or so to kind of get Williams in a low leverage situation. Or honestly, maybe he brings him in the ninth inning where it is a non save situation, where you bring him in when the Yankees have a 5-6 run lead. I could see something like that, but I definitely do think they are going to die on this hill. It's how it's going to have to go, and Williams is going to have to figure it out.
What the Dodgers do, and I'll make my transition to them. What the Dodgers do, especially at the end last year during the postseason, Blake Trinan was clearly their closer. Like they
Hmm.
didn't want to admit it, but Trinan was clearly the closer. But Trinan would be out there either in the eighth, sometimes even the seventh inning, but mostly the eighth or the ninth inning, whenever the heart of the order for the other team was coming up. So there could have been a situation where it's like, hey, we have Tatis Machado, we have Arise, Machado, and Tatis coming up in the eighth inning. Trinan's getting the ball in the eighth inning. And then
Hmm.
we'll figure it out in the ninth inning. We'll give it to Evan Phillips or we'll give it to somebody else.
Yeah.
But the Dodgers do this where they'll put their best guys for the best hitters in the heart of the lineup. I've
Hmm.
seen that with Tanner Scott too to begin this season, where you know instead of him coming out in the ninth inning, I've seen him come out in the eighth inning in the heart of the lineup. But
Yeah.
again, like you mentioned, Devin Williams has never been asked to be the setup guy.
Hmm.
He's always been the closer in the ninth inning. And that's the one thing that concerns me with this Yankee team is that, like you mentioned, they're gonna have to die on this hill
Yeah.
because Devin Williams doesn't know any other way.
Yeah.
But transferring into my Dodgers, from the last time we spoke, they took they swept the Rockies, so that's good. You know, at least they were able to at least take care of a shitty Rockies team. So the sky is not falling. And then they went to Texas and took 2 out of 3. But in the 2 games they won, they only scored 2 runs. They only scored 2 runs and won 1-0. Yamamoto continues to look fantastic. And like I said, my National League Cy Young Award pick. It's looking pretty damn good right now. I know he's only made like 4 or 5 starts, and we still got a long way to go. But a couple weeks ago, they asked him about it, about the Cy Young, and he said he wants it, or he wants to go after it at least. So, um, Yamamoto is clearly aware of the NL Cy Young, and I think he's going for it,
Hmm.
as he should. I think he's going to go for it this year. And he's got the backing of all the Dodger pitchers and players, and even um, their manager Dave Roberts, who earlier in the week said, "Yeah, Skeens is a great pitcher, but I'm taking Yamamoto." Which obviously you're supposed to say that. I don't think
Yeah.
he's gonna come out and say, "No, I'll take Paul Skeens instead." But um, again, I don't. They should have swept. You know, should have swept, but um, Kirby Yates was not able to close out the game in the bottom of the ninth on Saturday and gave up a freaking meatball right down the middle to Adolis Garcia, who, if you watch that entire at bat, he was literally looking to put the ball in the seats the whole time. You know, he had an ugly swing on a splitter, and then next pitch is right down the middle and he puts it in the seats. So but again, it's hard for me to complain. You did what you were supposed to do against the Rockies. You took all three games, and then you took 2 out of 3 from I think a very good Texas Rangers team. So, and you were able to limit Corey Seager, some of these other guys, and you were still, even as crappy as the offense has been for the last couple, week and a half, 2 weeks, you were still able to squeak out of there with 2 wins. So, again, nothing for me to complain about. Congratulations too, Shohei Ohtani. He is now a dad. He's a girl dad now. So he was on the paternity list um, for Friday and Saturday, and I heard this, because everybody on Twitter is a conspiracy theorist. So you know, uh, I saw, and I believe it. I'll run with this too. So people were doing the calculations. You know when 9 months ago was nine. You know when 9 months ago was. Well, I don't know why that's so hard for me to say. Nine months ago was the All Star break in Texas. It was in
Mm,
Texas. So there's this conspiracy going around, and I'll run with it too.
okay.
Shohei Ohtani was so excited that Teoscar Hernandez won the home run derby that he went immediately back to the hotel room and told his wife, "Hey, let's get it on. Let's do it." And 9 months later, he's a girl dad. I'll run with it. I like that.
And
He was
I
so
mean,
excited and horny at the same time that Teoscar Hernandez won the home run derby, the first ever Dodger to do that, by the way.
I
Because it
was,
was very interesting why Ohtani was not there in the later rounds. Didn't
yeah,
see him out there for the semis and didn't see him out there for the final, you know. So
yeah.
I think Otani was having a lot of fun that week in
No, I mean,
Texas.
I was just gonna ask you. I mean, I believe that Teoscar Hernandez was the first Dodger to win it. And I mean, maybe that speaks volume for how much he cares about this Dodger franchise. It's
Yes,
that kind of thing, and I don't blame him. I mean, baseball makes all of us horny sometimes. That's just how it is.
exactly.
I mean, I remember when Judge hit 62, or when Judge won home run derby. That type of thing. So no, it
I
makes
told you
sense.
last October when Freddie Freeman hit the walk-off grand slam. No woman has ever made me feel that good, ever. Never made me feel that good.
I don't blame you, man. That's what baseball does. I'm telling you. It gives you every single emotion and feeling known to man. That's what baseball does.
Absolutely. So again, not much for me to complain about. They did, like I said, sweep the Rockies and take 2 out of 3 from Texas. They they play the Cubs one more time, which, man, we've seen the Cubs a lot to begin the season. We saw the 2 games in Tokyo. We saw a bunch of them from the beginning of spring training, because the Dodgers and Cubs were the first 2 teams to report to spring training because they had to leave for Tokyo. Uh, a week earlier. Um, Played them last homestand, lost 2 out of 3, and now we have 2 games in Chicago coming up tomorrow and Wednesday. Then we come home. Come home for, man. If you can't beat the Pirates and the Marlins in the 6 game homestand, if you can't go 6-0, I'll be a little disappointed. I'll be okay with 5-1,
Hmm.
because I think these are professionals.
Yeah,
The Pirates and Marlins can figure out a way to win one game. I would hope.
yeah.
Maybe if Paul Skeens is pitching this weekend, maybe they'll win the Paul Skeens start. But um, just keep it up. Just keep it up and hope that these other teams in the National League West start losing. Because every time I check the other scores around baseball, San Diego wins again. San
Hmm.
Diego wins again. Like, what the
Yep.
hell's going on? The Giants are starting to go off, kind of fall off just a little bit. Not much to my comfort, but they're getting there. But I need this Padres team to start losing. because I was listening to a lot of San Diego podcasts and radio over the off season, and there was doom and gloom in that city with
Yeah,
the everything going on within the organization and the lack of moves that they made to begin during the off season, and now they are 10 games over 500. That's
crazy.
16-6, and they have a half a game lead over the Dodgers in the NL West. So I need the Padres to start. I need to come back down to reality a little bit. Like, all right, relax.
Yeah,
But again, still got a long way to go here. But not much for me to complain about. Tyler Glass now. Oh my God! If I had to, I was so afraid when they took him out of the game yesterday because I thought it was something arm related. I'm
yeah,
glad it was just cramps, which he had a cramp issue in his leg last year to begin the season. So um, they don't think it's anything more than that. I was as long as it's not anything in his arm with Glass now, I'm fine. If it's your
yeah.
leg, okay, fine. We'll stretch that out. Or drink your electrolytes. Give him another Gatorade or something. But or give him banana or something. But um, as long as it's not anything in the arm with Tyler Glass now, I'm okay. But I was very terrified yesterday that I was going to see the tweet from David Vassay or Jack Harris, one of these Dodger reporters, that hey, uh, Glass now is being shut down with an arm issue again. That's what I don't want to hear. But Dodgers are confident that he'll make his next start this coming weekend. So excited about that. But not much for me to complain about. Yamamoto, keep making progress towards that Cy Young, baby. Oh, and make my pick look good because I need it. I want it. I want him to win it too. So
Absolutely. Yeah,
there's my little Dodger update.
love it, man.
All right. Well, I guess unless you got anything else, I think that's
No,
about it. I think we're done here.
I believe so. Yeah,
All right. Well, uh, yeah, that's it.
that'll do it.
Episode 124 in the books. Didn't have that much topics today, but we covered a lot. We had a lot to say today, which
No,
is
of
always
course.
good. So,
Absolutely.
so.
Love it.
All right. Well, I'll see you next Monday. I'll be back at Dodger Stadium again in my uniform, and hopefully, the speaker at Dodger Stadium will be blasting through the computer. So, uh, but we'll see. Go Kings, go Lakers. For all I know, by the time I see you next week, both of my teams might be knocked out. But we'll see. But I am going to be a miserable prick this week. So hopefully the Kings and Lakers can change that starting tonight. But uh, that'll do it for this episode. We'll see you again next week. Adios.